go there. This is actually Ohio as well. It's funny, I just drove down that street today, and it does not look like that. It's interesting. And then a lot of these, so these are pictures that are made, in Ohio, California. This is in California. Fortunately, where I live, there's good weather, meaning that there's a lot of weather. It's like it's not sunny and 70 all the time. And so this is a contact sheet kind of for how I shoot this stuff, like just driving around and just shooting, just trying different exposures and different compositions mostly. This is that up in Washington State. If you ever get a chance to look at one of my books, I encourage you to do so, because obviously these digital projections aren't, they're not like looking at a real thing. So there's a lot more nuance and subtlety to the pictures in the darks and stuff. And so that was that work. And then, curiously with these are two landscapes that I find interesting. These are actually both pictures taken out of windows. One of them, this is by Walker Evans. This is a photograph that he had gone to photograph, I think like Edwardian or Victorian architecture or something up in upstate New York. And it was raining that day, so he couldn't go out and shoot. And his friend told him, he said, you should take this, you should take a picture of that. That is interesting. And he ended up taking it. This is one of his only pictures where it's like not bad weather. But I love this picture. It's one of his most poetic pictures, I think. And then here's another picture taken out of a hotel room window by Robert Frank. And this is Butte, Montana, and from the Americans. And what I love about this picture is I love the curtains in there. You can feel the photographer's presence by looking through those curtains. So I like that a lot. I feel like my pictures of the rain on the window have a quality of that kind of, from this picture. And then another one this is Robert Adams again. This just cold, stark landscape, but sharp and documentary. And then here's a Stieglitz landscape that's sort of very picturesque, and not picturesque, but pictorialist. It's something that has a quality to it that, I like both of these. I love photography very much, and I like that I'm not like the kind of person that likes just what I like. I have a very broad taste in what I'm interested in and influenced by. I like pictorialism, and I love realism at the same time. So it's kind of, it's an approach that I'm glad to be influenced by these multiple things. And then here's sort of like a little bit about how I work. I'm very much interested in, I leave things out all the time, and I look at, I'm always looking at pictures and always kind of comparing things. I have lots of photography books, and there's never anywhere to send anything down because they're always open to pages that I like. This is Emmett Gowan, and that's one of my pictures. I'm always kind of also comparing my work to people's and putting it in with their work, and that was like, that picture is 20 years old. And then this is, just like, just pictures of my studio, just to sort of get a sense of where these things come from. I'm totally obsessed with photography books. There's just stacks and stacks of them all over. And then here's something that I really think, this is a funny little thing, but it's kind of important, is that these are the pictures that I Xerox. This is my medicine cabinet. And I have all these pictures in there, my pictures and other people's pictures, because I love to, when I'm going to get some Advil, I'm there's something about, and then you close the door, and there's something about that kind of that peripheral, experience of photography that's actually kind of important and interesting. It's something that, this is the key little thing for me, actually. It's really, it works. All the time, there's something about not seeing your pictures, and then you see them, and you're like, oh. And then it's done. It's a weird thing, but it works. And then this is just more of my studio. I'm really into, I love to put together other people's work and make these little sequences of things. I love doing that. One day I'll publish a book. I take pictures of the things I come up with. Sometimes I combine people's pictures, and then one day I'll make a little book of all This is a beautiful little pair of, it's a Stieglitz photograph of Dorothy Norman and some snapshot, not a snapshot, some studio portrait of something, a found photograph that I have. But isn't it a lovely pair of pictures? I really like that. It's actually, this is funny, this is one of the ones that's actually a good picture of pictures. It's hard to do it, but I like this one a lot. And then sort of with, and then my work sort of started to, I got into a point where, with my pictures, it's like you kind of constantly have to keep moving, with your work. And because you get tired of things and you just want to kind of move on. And so I really wanted to started to think about what could I do next and how could I work with portraits and work with people. Because I made all these photographs of places with no people in them, but I wanted to start to think about, how do I incorporate people into my work? So, and at the same time, I was asked to do this, actually I'll get to that in a minute. These are just some of the portraits. I'd always done portraits. I'd taken pictures of my friends, and this is ironically a picture I took in that foreclosed home where the mattress is. Like this is on the other side of the room. This is my friend that had come with me to go take pictures, and so I did this portrait there, which I really like very much. And then, this is the guy that taught me how to color print, David Remington, a friend from graduate school. And I would do these portraits every so often, and I just, it was like very infrequent. I just do them whenever I saw them. And here's another friend of mine. And so I started to, I had a few pictures around, and then I was asked to do this assignment for this fashion magazine. This magazine was called Big Magazine, is what it was called, and it was a magazine that had. They'd seen my pictures of places, and they wanted to see what I would do if I had like a model, like a fashion model in the pictures, and come up with them. So we did this. I had this crew of people, and there was this, model and hair and makeup and fancy clothes and all that stuff. And I made this picture, and I liked it, but I thought, there's something more to this. And so I started to kind of realize through this experience that I actually preferred not fashion things, but like real people in real environments. And so I started to make these pictures of people in rooms. And I started to kind of combine them, much like I had in the very beginning of my slideshow, where I would have these pictures of, there's a place, I like that putting these things together, like the light of this TV might be what's lighting up this person. And so, I started to work on this book called Between the Two. And it was sort of, the title kind of very much comes from what happens between, there's a lot of different levels of it, but it's like what happens between, two pictures when you kind of put these things together. There's this jump that happens in your mind about filling in some narrative. And then also it's about relationship and about, people and whatnot. And so I started to photograph, people. And at this point in time, I really kind of realized that, photographing, I just continued to photograph like women because that's actually what I was interested in. I realized that it wasn't about men, it was about, relationships in my life and people in my life that, not actual just stand-ins. They're all these people are kind of stand-ins for all my work is a stand-in for something else in some way, literally, and the people, it's no different. I really like this one a lot. It's just all, again, natural light, nothing's set up, all portraits are staged unless you're Gary Winogrand walking down the street snapping away. But other than that, I think portraits are staged. So, but only insofar as that, here, sit in this light, or here, wear this, or whatnot. And then